Welcome back to the Million Dollar Landscaper podcast. I have a question for you today. Have you ever thought to yourself, man, if there's a piece of software out there that can do exactly what I wanted, or man, I wish I could just go create a piece of software that would do what I needed in my business? Well, that is exactly what our guest did today. Our guest is Shannon Walsh of Premier Home Services Business and EZBZ Software. And she is an amazing person. She has created her own software just for her landscape business. Welcome, Shannon. Thanks for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Scott. It's good to be here, even though here is at my own desk in my office. Good to be here. Good
No,
to be here
no.
in my house.
No, we have to step away sometimes, so it's good. So, Shannon, you mind sharing a little background of yourself and how you got started in the landscape business? I think it's pretty normal in the landscape business how usually one spouse has started the business and somebody else, the other spouse steps in at a later time. That's exactly what happened to our business. You mind sharing that story?
Yeah, absolutely. So I met my now husband on a 90s theme boat cruise in Boston Harbor. And we were dancing and having fun. And he said he was a business owner and he had his own landscaping business. And he didn't mention the fact that he had just started the business and he had about 10 customers, one of which was his mom. So I was so excited to meet this guy, and I noticed right away that um, he's just not very organized. It's just kind of his personality. So I would help him out with little stuff, sending out invoices or keeping Excel spreadsheets, keeping track of stuff, and that grew over time. And I had full-time office job, and it got to a point where I was working two full-time jobs, one for Premier and one in an office. And on my lunch breaks, I was going to meet with customers and I was working mornings and nights. And one fall cleanup season, I said, you can either hire someone to do this job or I'm going to quit my job and work for you full time. And he said, okay, you can quit your job and work for me full time. And I said, and I'm not going to do it as your girlfriend. So we're getting married. And he said, okay, we'll get married. And so that was 4 years ago that I started full time. Actually,
Nice.
April 1st, 2017 was my first official full time day as a Premier Home Services employee.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exciting. No, like I said, it happens all the time. We see it, like I said, our family did. My dad started the business. My mom stepped in. I was in the business. My wife stepped in. So it's pretty typical in the landscape business, I think. So
Yeah.
we need you
Well,
guys. We need the
yes,
spouse.
right. And it's really hard to find employees in general, but people that you can trust and
Mhm.
who are going to be invested in your business the
Yeah,
way that you are as an owner. And oftentimes it's the family members that are going to care as much as you do and become
mhm.
as invested. And of course, it's your livelihood. It's how you're
Yeah,
paying the mortgage, it's how you're paying the bills. So it's in the family's best interest to support that, I think. I always tell people
it's
if they have the opportunity to have their wife come and work in the office, like absolutely you should do that. And once I
mhm.
started working in full time with my husband, I would also go out on jobs. So I do the landscaping. I know how to use every piece of equipment. I have been on every crew. I plow, I mow, not regularly, but I can do everything. And that
Sure.
understanding actually helped me even more in the business. So when I'm quoting jobs, meeting with customers, I have a greater understanding as opposed to being like, why aren't you home yet? Why don't you just fire that fire that guy? I love that one. Everyone always has that. Well, why don't you just fire that guy? I'm like, I wish I could. I wish I could fire that guy. But having that understanding, we're working towards something together.
Mhm. One thing I think is really cool about your story is you guys both came from the corporate field, right? So
Yeah.
how did that kind of help, or what did you take from the corporate field to apply it to the landscaping business?
A lot, a lot. So my background is in human resources and learning and development and project management. So all of these things made me really well suited for the role that I'm in. So my communication with customers is very professional. I'm in some ways an over communicator with the customers, but they love it. I mean, before a
Mhm.
snowstorm, I email all of our plow customers. I say, this is our anticipated plan. If you don't want to get plowing for the storm, let me know by this time. Otherwise, take no action. And they love that stuff. If it's raining, I say, oh, our mow schedule is going to be off by a day, just so everyone knows, or just a reminder, it's a holiday, so our schedule is going to be off. And I've I've taken a lot of the communication style from the corporate world and applied that to the business. And then also just having a knowledge of using Outlook and Dropbox and Microsoft Office and just knowing how to do more more administrative things I wouldn't than I wouldn't have known if I hadn't have worked in the corporate
Sure.
world for so long.
Sure. Well, I think that communication is huge. That's something we see a lot of times, and I'm sure you've seen it too. Other landscapers don't communicate with their customers, and that's huge.
I think we've actually retained a lot of customers simply because of my communication with them, because my guys aren't perfect. You know, they make mistakes and sometimes they get sloppy and those things happen. But
Mhm.
because the customers know that I'm a responsive person and I don't sit at my desk all day, I'm out in a truck, I'm working with the crews, I'm quoting jobs, but they know that they can get a hold of me. And I think just having that communication and being open and available to the customers makes a really big difference. And that's not always possible. I mean, I'm in a really fortunate
Mhm.
situation that my husband and I are doing this together. I mean, when you're a solo, owner operator, it's really, really hard to manage all that stuff. So, yeah, can't say like everybody should be doing this because, of course, we all know we should, but I'm just in a situation where I have more availability to do that.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I couldn't even imagine going doing this on your own. Like I said, I grew up with my family doing it, and I had my mom in the office all the time. My dad was out doing stuff. I was out doing stuff. We had salespeople. My wife. I couldn't imagine. It'd be crazy.
Yeah, I always tell people, if you can at least get a part-time administrator,
Mhm.
it's going to help your business. So, and I have a part-time assistant to help with the billing, and I can just send her a message and just say, "Oh, this person called me. Can you call them back?" Um, just to take care of the little stuff. It really
Mhm.
makes a difference in the business. Of course, that's not always possible to do,
Yeah,
but if you have the chance to do it, if you can get a part-time office person, I highly recommend it.
absolutely, absolutely. So when you're out in the field, you started seeing like there's some things missing. There's something wasn't tying everything together, and you had like communication issues and stuff. So you decided to create something of your own, correct?
Yes. So when I first started working full time with my husband, or even before that, when he first hired his when he hired his first employee, he would go out with them. So it was just the two of them. And then
Sure.
as that grows, and so you don't really need to tell someone what you're doing because you just go to the job together and you say, this is what we're doing. But then as you grow and you're having the crews go out on their own, how are you communicating to them what to do for the day? And so again, my husband is not a very organized person. He's a great person, just not an organized person. And he would like write it out, like scratch it out on a piece of paper. And things would get confused, the guys would get confused, things wouldn't get done. And so I also have a master's degree in elementary education. So I know how to make lesson plans for you know, elementary school children. So I started
Uh-huh.
helping him with that. I would make these very detailed work orders based on my background of uh, teaching kids. And so that kind of grew into a more formal. way of doing things. And as the business grew and we were mowing every single day, now we've got this list, right? This list of Monday's route, Tuesday's route, Wednesday's route. And I was making it on the computer and I put it on a clipboard and I take it out to the trucks. And then if something happened, well, now I have to get in touch with the guys and be like, oh, this person, I forgot to tell you, this person moved. They sold their house. They emailed me over the weekend that they closed on the house. We're not mowing there anymore. Or they would have a note and they wouldn't just tell me. They'd write it on the piece of paper, which if I didn't pick that piece of paper up for 2 days, now 2 days later, I'm like, what? Why didn't you tell me this? And so then we were running the business from the house that we lived in, and then we got a yard space. So now the crew is running from a separate area. And my my office was on the third floor of the house. So if I got down to it, printed everything out, went downstairs, put it on the clipboard, and realized I made a mistake, and I go all the way back upstairs, fix my mistake. And with plowing, you're running multiple checks at one time. And so I'd print them all out, I'd go through them all, I'd check all the notes, and I'd make a copy for myself. So if something happened, I had everyone's route. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way than doing all this stuff on paper. And it took me a really long time every day. So no matter what, when you have employees going out the next day, you got to make sure that they're doing something to generate revenue. So you've got to make sure they have the list. So I started doing, there's got to be an app or something out there. It seemed like a no-brainer to me. And I did a lot of research and I couldn't find something that simply was just work orders. Because I didn't need all the bells and whistles. I didn't want the billing. I didn't want the estimating. I didn't need a CRM. I didn't need the marketing. I mean, should I probably do all that stuff? Yeah, sure. But what I really needed was a way to communicate to my guys what they had to do the next day without printing it out on a piece of paper, putting it on a clipboard, taking it to the trucks. And so I did my research. I looked around, could not find what I was looking for. I found a lot of scheduling, which drove me nuts because you don't schedule lawn mowing. You don't mow from 8 to 8:15, 8:15, 8:30, 8:30, 8:45. It's just a list. And it takes however long it takes. And then for cleanups, we also bill by the man hours. So I keep track of that time, and that's what I bill the customer with. So I was in a networking group, and I asked in the networking group if anyone made apps because I finally got to a point. I looked at, all the big guys, LMN, Jobber, Hindsight, Workwave. I talked to them. I went to GIE. I talked to all of them. I had meetings with all of them, and I was like, I just cannot find what I want, which is just a simple way to make work orders and be able to make changes on the fly. So I found someone who could make an app for me, and the original version was kind of rudimentary, but it worked great. It worked, it did exactly what I wanted it to do. And after using it for a few months, I asked the developer if he wanted to do it for real as a business, and he said yes. And we brought in our third partner who had connected us, and that was probably 2 or 3 years ago that we started working on it. And last summer, we finally got it to a point that I felt comfortable sharing it with the world because I'm the OG beta tester. I'm the one who finds all the bugs and when things
Yeah,
don't work. And I would not allow them to sell it unless I knew that it worked. Because if I was having an issue with my crew, I didn't want that to happen to somebody else because I know what it's like out there. I know what everyone's dealing with. I was like, this needs to be exactly what everybody needs. And not everybody, but it needs to work.
sure.
It needs to work. So that was the story of how EZBZ came to be. And I mean, for me, it has saved me so much time. I mean, today, for example, I'm supposed to have a new guy start, and I'm sure you know where this story is going. Get it to wake up to a text that, oh, sorry, I'm not coming. And I'm like, oh. No problem. No problemo. So I had created a plan for today, a work order for today, thinking that this guy was coming, and
Mhm.
he wasn't. So I'm like, okay, well, that makes today's work order really ambitious. Not impossible, but um, definitely something for a bigger crew. And so I had to make a change on the fly. And it was great. I just right on my phone, I just made a new work order, sent it out, and just roll with the punches. And
Yeah.
also
Well,
during cleanup season, it's really it's really great that sometimes I'll check in with my guys like late morning, and if I see they're just like crushing through the list, because we don't do any spring cleanups that we haven't done a fall cleanup, so there's not a whole lot to do there except really thatch the lawn. If I see they're blowing through the list, I'm like, oh, good, gonna add a couple more on there. Let's get these cleanups
there you
done.
go.
And I can just do it right on the phone. It just goes right onto their work order. I don't have to text them and say, hey, looks like you guys are almost done. So why don't you do this one and this one and this one after? And then sure enough, they just clock out and they're like, oh, sorry, didn't see your text. I'm like, I think you did. But now I don't even have to do that. I can just change the work order around. Or if it rains or anything happens, I now have that flexibility to adapt to whatever is coming for
Mhm.
that day and doing it on the fly while having crews out generating revenue and servicing customers, of
Yeah.
course, of
No,
course,
that's
of
awesome.
course. Yeah,
So,
that
just for those that aren't familiar with the term work order, you mind sharing what
oh,
a work order is or what's involved in a work order?
sure. So turns out what I call a work order, everybody seems to have a different name, a different name for it. So
They
some
do.
people
That's
call them, yeah, job sheets, route list, route sheet, um, jobs for the day. So for me, what I call a work order is really just the list of the jobs that they're doing that day. So if it's the lawn mowing, then it's that day's list of customers. And the way the app is set up, that they get to the job, they check in when they get there, they check out when they leave, and that's how we know that the job is complete. So for bigger jobs, for project jobs, something we're going to be on site for a few days, I might not make a work order for that, but depending on what's going on, I might make a work order for that too. So some people call it a route sheet or job list, and I call it a work order, but it's all it's all the
that.
same thing. It's the list of jobs that need to be
That
need to be done that day.
sure. Now, does the do you on the work orders? Do those also include the scope of work? Kind of like at least a basic idea of what they're doing each job. Okay.
Yeah. So you can
Okay.
add tasks, or in the app, you can add tasks and notes. So for some things like plowing, I'm not going to put any tasks there. I
Sure.
hope they know what they're doing when they get when they get there. But for cleanups and mulch, if there's a special note for the customer, the customer says, don't do anything with this side, we just reseed it, or say I put those notes in there. And especially this time of year where we're doing both cleanups and mulch, I specify that this is a cleanup, this is a mulch, this is both. Bring these tools today. I put all the tool list in there. So you can provide as much detail or as little detail as you want.
Well, and you are 100% correct. Like this is stuff that when you start growing that you don't necessarily think about right away. But when you
Right.
step away from that job, your employees don't know everything. You have to provide those details. And I love how you kind of said you step back to your teachings on elementary education, 'cause that's true. That's it. You kind of feel like you're over, I don't know, teaching people or telling people stuff they should know, but they don't. You have to tell them all this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much stuff, especially if you've been out in the field. And I know you and Katie have said this before, that when you're in the fields, you're doing everything perfect, especially as the owner. Like you expect to leave the job site perfect. And sometimes the employees don't have that same mentality of leaving everything perfect. So, one of the things that I found, and this was something I learned in my master's degree, was how do you make a peanut butter sandwich? And you think like, oh, you just spread the peanut butter. But this is how they teach you to make lesson plans is, well, first you have to open the cabinet. Then you take the peanut butter out, twist the top, pull up from the drawer, get out a knife, pull open the bread. And so you break it down into little steps. And I've translated that into how I personally make work orders. I have a lot of notes, which sometimes they don't read, sometimes they do. I do the best I can. But the the idea that, especially when you're starting out and you're sending out crews on their own for the first time and you're not on the crew, understanding that they can't read your mind.
Mhm.
And if you're there, and we forget how much when we're there, we're communicating verbally to them, go get the edger, edge this bed, rake out all these leaves, go dump it in the woods over there. There's so much that we're communicating that we forget that once we're gone, yeah, that stuff is just not there. I mean, it seems obvious to us, but nobody's a mind reader. So being able to just communicate those details to the crew sets them up for success, makes the customers happier. Um, and you can add photos in the app too, which I do that all the time. If there's something that a customer one-off thing, I have a cleanup we just did last week. They wanted to put in a little vegetable garden. And so it was a small bed, but it was overgrown. And he specifically asked if we could just grub hoe it out. He didn't use those words, those are my words, but just clean it out so they could plant a vegetable garden. So this was something kind of out of the ordinary. They know cleanup,
Uh-huh.
they know mulch. So I put a note that said, look at the photos, this corner bed, they want us to just grub hoe this out. They're going to put in a veggie garden. You don't have to put in any mulch here, just get rid of everything in there. And I put a picture of the bed so they knew exactly which bed I was talking about. And I went back and checked and they did it. I was like, yes, very good. Good. They read my note. I'm always pleasantly surprised when they
No,
when they read my notes.
this is huge because this is one of the first things that we started implementing in our business early on. And once we did that, like that transformed things. It released so much stress off us because we're trying to like we think we tell them, but we don't always tell them everything. And this software can definitely solve that issue because we had that issue. I mean, I think every landscape company out there has this issue. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know a lot of landscapers in my area. I mean, we're a community. We help each other out, and I have a lot of landscapers in my area that are now EZBZ customers because I've, you know, shown it to them and shown them how it works, and I've trained their guys on how to use it, and it's really made their lives so. One of the landscapers that are his yard space is next to us. He's in Florida this week, and his guys are doing cleanups here. They're on easy beasy. He's on a beach chair making work orders, and his guys are up here doing cleanups. He doesn't have to be here to tell them everything to do. I even go as far as adding my suppliers onto the onto the route list, onto the job sheet for the day. So if it's,
nice.
load up the tools and then go get 5 yards of mulch, I put the supplier right on there. And they check in and there's notes, says 5 yards, pine mulch, check out, go to the job. So I try and make it as easy as possible for my crews to go out and get the work done and cut down on the phone calls of, I'm confused. What are we doing here? What kind of mulch am I supposed to get? And
So,
you're like, ah,
so let me ask you, since you started doing this, how has it helped you and your husband? Like, has it relieved stress? Has it made your life easier?
yes, yes, definitely. And I mean, I saved so much time once I got this app. I started a second business. Like it's the hours of time that it has saved. And for billing as well, if you have someone, whether it's your bookkeeper, your assistant doing the billing, they can go right in to the Easy Beasy because you can get it on the web too. It's on the app and then it's also on the web, and they can do the
Okay.
billing. So now it's not me getting a sheet from my guys and then giving that to the bookkeeper to send the bills. It's a much more seamless process. And in
Mhm.
the morning, I just can make the work order or make it the day before. And for like mowing and plowing, especially when you're running multiple crews, just having the ability to quickly make the work orders and send them out and have it be done. And you can copy work orders to reuse them over and over again. So if they're mowing the same lawns
Mm.
every Monday, why do I need to create a new work order every Monday? I just copy last week's, change the date, and they're good to go. I mean, something that would have taken me
Nice.
20 minutes, depending on printing it out, putting it on the clipboard, taking it to the trucks, collecting it, now takes me seconds. It's, I mean, the time
Uh-huh.
savings has been great for us. And if
Well,
the truck
I
breaks
know.
down in the middle of a snowstorm, you can just move the jobs onto another route rather than having to text like three different plow drivers to say, okay, now you do this one and this one and this one, and you do this one and this one and this one. You can just move the jobs right onto the route and just let them know, like, hey, I moved some more driveways onto your route because that truck broke down. So just to let you know, it's all good.
So, when you kind of came up with this idea, your husband, was he in the mindset of, I don't have time to make all these work orders, and I can just, it's easier for me just to tell them, or was it pretty simple to get him to hop on board?
So when creating the app, he knew, I mean, he saw the time that it was taking me to make the work orders and how frustrated I was. I think if I had never said anything or it didn't bother me, the app wouldn't exist. But if it were up to him, he'd probably still just be scratching stuff out on paper and handing it off to the guys. And oh, he would take a picture of it with his phone. So when they would call him with questions, he would be like, "What did I tell them to?" And he'd have to look at the picture of the piece of paper that he had written the work orders. He'd probably still be doing that if I hadn't
Yeah.
have taken over the work orders. But he was really supportive of it, and he saw the value of it, and he thought it was a good idea to have, and he taught himself how to use the app, which I thought was fantastic, that he
Oh,
found
that's
it so easy that he was able to do it himself. And so that was really good. That was a special moment for me, the first time he made his own work order for himself without me having to teach him how to do it. I was very proud.
nice. So, I guess on that note, I'm assuming this is really easy for the owner to kind of create these things. Like, how much time did you have to take to set it up and kind of create a work order?
So the first time that you make a work order, it depends on how many jobs are on it. Because the process of actually creating the job sheet or the work order or the route, it's really just a couple clicks of a button. You just add a job, search for the customer, hit save, and then you just do that over and over until you have your list for the day. So the first time that you make the list, especially if it's going to be mowing or plowing, something that's going to be repeated and reused. You want to double check everything, make sure that it's in the right order, move stuff around if you need to. But then after that, if you're confident with what you're doing, it'll go pretty quick. It goes very quickly.
Nice.
So if it's, 30 lawns, 35 lawns, it's going to take a few minutes to get set up the first time, but then
Mhm.
after that, you're just copying that route over and over again. And then, for cleanups, if you've got, six, eight, takes a couple seconds, add in your notes, and really the time savings is, I just can't even describe it. It's it's so great getting that time back because you can always make more money, right? But you can never make more time.
Yep.
And that was really the
Exactly.
impetus for creating the app was I saw the amount of time, I just felt like it was wasted time. I was doing something that was absolutely necessary to do, had to be done, but it was taking so much time. I was like, I will never get this time back. There has to be a better way to do this. So I can assure you it's fast. You can get stuff done make your work orders pretty quickly with it because I didn't want to waste any more time making stuff on paper.
Sure. Well, I know like when we first started doing the work orders, my dad's like, I don't have time for this. I started questioning. I'm like, okay, think about how much time you have to go back and either correct a problem or put out the fire of what they did wrong or they forgot something. Think about those types of things. You're spending 5 minutes doing this work order, just typing out whatever they need to take or whatever it is. It's saving you hours on the back end. You got to think about all this time, those things.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's a certain tool that they need to take for the day, we don't often take hedge trimmers out on spring cleanups, but every once in a while someone will ask for some trimming or some pruning. And if I don't tell them to bring those hedge trimmers, well, now I got to send them back another time to do that
Hmm.
pruning because I forgot two words on the work order: hedge
Yep.
trimmers. And if I just told them, bring the hedge trimmers right there on the work order, I could have saved a whole bunch of time. Or if they get to a job and they don't know what to do, well, that's on me. And I don't want to get the phone call in the middle of the day when they're standing in the customer's yard being like, we don't know why we're here. And I'm like, oh gosh, I guess I shouldn't have assumed that you knew while you were there. It saves
Yeah.
so much time. You're right. To just communicate in advance what needs to be done.
Hmm.
And then the customers like it
So for
too.
your team, oh, sorry. So for your team, how was easy was it for them to actually understand the program and actually to start taking action on it? Like, how much time did you have to put into like, go check the app, go check the app?
So the original version before EZBZ, the original version that was just for me, for my company, that one was actually a little bit more complex. And I think I trained them one time. I showed them what to do. And then when EZBZ was ready to use, I didn't have to do any training with them because they were already familiar with the process. But I just did a training this week with another landscaper local to me who started using it, and I went first thing in the morning, got there at like 6:45. Everyone's getting ready, and so I showed the guy. I was like, "This is what you do. You go like this. You get to the job. You click on the job, navigate to the job, check in, tap the names of everybody who's checking into the job, hit the check-in button. When you're done, you just check out." And I looked, and he said, "Okay." And I looked later in the day, and sure enough, they'd gone down the list, and I was like, yes. It was super easy. The biggest challenge I have had with my crew is they keep forgetting their passwords. That's been the biggest thing. Is every update with the app, it'll kick you out, and you got to re-sign in, as any app does, or they get a new phone or something. They forget their password. Like that's been the biggest challenge. Is they just can't remember their password, which I've made pretty simple, but that
Yeah.
using the app has, I wanted to make sure that it was accessible to everybody. And that goes for older owners who still have, well, if you have a flip phone, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to use it because you don't get apps on your on your phone. But you know, older people who have their kids show them how to do stuff, and younger, more tech savvy employees, and I didn't want it to have a lot of bells and whistles. That was the most important thing to me, was that it only did this one thing. I didn't need all the bells and whistles, and there's a lot of new companies, small companies that also don't need a lot of bells and whistles, but they need a way to be able to tell their crews what to do every day to go out, serve the customers, and make the money. So I kept it very, very simple, very simple.
Yeah. I love that. And I love also, like you mentioned a little bit of it's very affordable for people. So if you're small and you don't think I can afford something like this, you can. Like this is
Yeah.
what I love about this program. It's very
Yes.
affordable.
And that was also something that was really important to me, because anyone who's gone to look for the software companies, the LMNs, the Jobbers, the Hindsights, the Workwaves, they are very expensive, which can
Mhm.
be a barrier to entry for someone who needs to have tools to make their business run more more efficiently. So I wanted to make sure that this was something that was very easy to use, very flexible, and very affordable. Because I
Mhm.
don't think that you need to pay 50, 100, 200, $500 a month to have your business run efficiently. And people are scared of looking at software because they know that it is a big investment. It's a big investment that this isn't that. This is an easy, affordable way to help people run their businesses more efficiently. And again, I've been out there. I've been on the crews. I've been on every crew. I've been on cleanups, plowing, mowing, mulch, patios, all of it. I know what it's like out there. And that was why I created this app so that I could run this business from my truck, which is where I spend most of my days driving around, looking at jobs, talking to customers, doing the work. Have to have a way to be able to do stuff from your truck because that's where we live, right? Feels
Sure.
like sometimes.
Well, that's the thing too I like about your software is like you as the owner, if you're out in the field and whatever somebody has to leave for the day or a customer cancels or whatever it is, you can go on the app and change it like right away, which is
Yeah.
awesome. That's what you need.
Yes.
So
That was really important. You show up at a customer's house and they're getting the house painted and they didn't tell you, well,
yep.
it's either time to go home for the day or let's get another job on there. And this is actually a true story. There was This is a couple years ago. My husband and I had like a 2-day job. We were redoing a walkway and this was the year we went to GIE. So we were going to GIE that week and we were going to do this job on Saturday. We were going to do the job on Saturday because I think we left on Monday or Tuesday. So this would be our last job before we went. So we get all the material because, excuse me, everything closed at noon on Saturday, So we're getting all our bulk materials, getting all our stuff together. We're in separate trucks. And we get to the job and there was a parade. And this was a dead end job that if one of us had gotten there earlier, would have been trapped on this road for the whole day because it was a dead end road and there was a parade going by. So the road was closed. So we had to change the plan in the middle of the day. At, at the beginning of the day, we ended up doing it on Sunday after the parade, and luckily we had all our material. But stuff like that happens, right? Like there's a water main
Yep.
break in the road. The road is closed. A tree fell. You can't get down the road. All these things that are out of our control. I needed a way to be able to adapt on the fly because the answer can't always be, oh, well, pack it up and go home. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, no way. Let's
Yep.
find something else to do.
Yep.
It's really helpful for the things out of our the things out of our control that get in the way of doing work.
Do you mind sharing a few of the features that are in the app too? Like what all can it be done from? I mean, we talked a little bit about creating the work orders, but what can the end user, the people out in the field, what can they do from that?
So there's two types of users. There's the admin user and a regular user. So the admin user can create the job sheets, the work orders, add customers, add users, edit users, run reports. So like I said, I bill by the man hour for cleanups and labor work, trimming, that sort of stuff. So I have reports, so it just calculates the hours for me. The regular user out in the field, they only see the active work orders. So all they can do is just follow the list. So they can check into the job, check out of the job. They can add comments. Customer wants to get some trimming done, please call. Or painters at the house couldn't do the job. They can attach a picture. So some people like to do before and after pictures. They can attach pictures. So the crew out in the field, they're limited with what they can do. They can't make changes to anything, I guess is the right way to say it, but they can see the information that you've
Mhm.
provided with them. But again, there's just not a lot of bells and whistles. I wanted to keep it very simple. I didn't want to overcomplicate it. I didn't want to add in anything that someone else was already offering. Because once you start adding in the billing and the invoicing, it's like, okay, well, now I'm competing with these other guys that have already been, these other companies that have already been doing this, and that's not what I wanted. And I sometimes have to
Mhm.
remind my partners that we have to stay focused. Like, this is a very simple app that is affordable, and I want to keep it that way. That's really important to me
Yeah.
because I've been there, I've done that, I've worked in the field, and I know the pain. I know the struggle of working all day and then being like, oh God, I still have to get that mow route ready for tomorrow. And you're tired and dirty and hot and hungry, and you still got to sit at your desk and do it. And there just had to be a better
Yeah.
way. So there's not a ton of bells and whistles, and I'm gonna keep it that way.
Well, that's sometimes simpler is better. It's easier for both user and as you as the owner and the user. So I think that's huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
we've got enough stuff going on. I mean, we don't need another super complicated, if you've ever had to file your unemployment quarterly, reports with the state and your workers' comp audit and all these things that it's like, oh, one more thing that I have to do. It's like, no,
yeah,
that stops here.
yeah. So one more quick question: app can be used on like Android, iOS. You said the desktop too, correct?
That's
Yeah.
right. Yep. So any Android phone, iPhone, or iPad, any iOS device, or from any web browser. So you can use it from the web browser on your phone or at the computer. Sometimes it's easier to work at the computer, and sometimes it's easier to do it from the phone. And sometimes I'll be logged into both the app and on the web browser on my phone because I want to. I'll check and see what it looks like from the cruise side as well.
Mhm.
And plus, I train other people on how to do it. So sometimes I'm logged in multiple places on like three different accounts different EZBZ users. And I'm always testing it. I'm always logging in and
Yeah.
testing what it looks like for other people and seeing how other people are using it that's different from how I'm using it. And if anyone has a problem, any of our customers, EZBZ customers have a problem, they can come right to me and I can log in and see what they're seeing. So it's really flexible. I can be logged in as like four different landscaping businesses at the same time. There's a lot of flexibility for whatever kind of device that people are using, whether it's the cruise personal
Nice.
phones because it is a free app in the app store, or if um, the company is providing a tablet or a crew phone. We used to do that um, because guys don't pay their phone bills or their phone breaks, dropped it while they were fishing. I mean,
Yeah.
I can show you my phone. My phone has fallen one too many times. Got to go to the
Yep. Yep.
Verizon store today and get a new phone. So some people will have crew phones as well. So it's very easy to get access to it in addition to using it.
Nice. Nice. So you mind sharing a little bit how they can find out more about you or in your the Easy Beezy and actually what it costs?
Yes, absolutely. So the cost right now, we're doing lifetime subscriptions for $287, and that's a one-time payment, and they would have the app for life. That will be going away in a couple months, and we'll be moving to a monthly subscription process. But for now, it's $287 for life. And
That's awesome.
the website, that's really affordable, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So the website is EZBZ.app. So it's EZBZ.app. But I will say for some reason, and you found this, Scott, that iPhones don't like that. It's
Yeah.
actually it's a redirect to our website, which is longer. It's EZBZ all spelled out. So if you're using an iPhone and you type EZBZ.app, it might not work, but that's on iPhone. That's not our website. We're also on Facebook and um, Instagram as
Mhm.
well.
No, this is if you're considering some kind of software, you don't want to get all the bells and whistles, or you can't afford something, like the higher end software. Definitely check this program out. It is awesome. It's very simple to use. Shannon kind of took me a little bit behind the scenes tour one time, and it's awesome. So this is why I think everybody should at least check it out and get a hold of Shannon. If you want a demo, she can set you up with a demo. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually do the demos with my account. I just say, yeah, I'm like, I don't think you're gonna come and poach my customers. I'm like, this is my work order today. Let me show you what my guys are doing today. This is real life. This is what we're doing. Because
yeah,
I'm not only a client, I'm the president.
yeah, there you go.
Or
There you
no,
go. No,
wait, goes the other way, right? I'm not only the president, I'm also a client.
yeah,
That's what
yeah. What was that? That was that hair.
the hair club for men.
Yes, that's it, yes. Nice,
Yeah.
nice. No, this is a great piece of software, and I encourage everybody to check it out and, to sign up. This is the awesome deal. You're not gonna find any software like that that will save you so much time this price range, so
It's really anywhere that you can find efficiencies and ways to save time when you're running your own business, you have to capitalize on that
mhm,
because you can always make more money, but you can't make more time.
yep,
And if I find anything that's going to save me time, I definitely definitely check it out because I want more time. Want I want more time always. Always want more time.
and I can say just for ourselves, like, just doing the simple work orders is a huge time saver and a huge help. So having this now even easier on an app that you as the owner can see, your team can see, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Well, I think so, but I'm also the biggest fan. So
Oh, yes, yes. All right, Shannon. Well, I appreciate you coming on here. Guys, go check out EZBZ.app. You're gonna fall in love with it once you see it and start using it. I guarantee it. So, all right, Shannon. Well, I got a couple fun questions for you. You mind answering?
sure.
Okay. All right. So, what would you do if you're invisible for a day?
Oh my gosh. Um, well, I guess that would depend if I could talk to anybody because I think I would tell my husband I'm invisible for the day. I'm gonna just go in the woods and sit by myself in a quiet place where no one can see me. I don't want to spy on
There you go.
anyone. I want a day off. That's that's what I would do. If no one could see me for one day, I would take that day to myself and I would just go hide somewhere where no one could find me.
There, there you go. All right. What book belongs on everyone's bookshelf?
Ooh. Um, let's see. How to Win Friends and Influence People is a good one. Um, I didn't read, I listened to the Donald Miller's Story Brand over
That's
the
a great one.
winter.
Yeah.
That is a great one. Um, yeah, I think How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
I think that's an important book for everyone to read and reread
Yeah.
over and over again. It costs
Yeah.
$0 to be nice. I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing in the book is, be nice to people. But
Yeah.
there's also really great tips on how to give people bad news and um,
Mhm.
to stop saying but. And
Yeah.
if you want to know how to do
Yes.
it, you got to read the book.
Yep. All right. What is something that you've never been able to do well?
Oh my gosh, the list is very long. Um, Grocery shopping? I don't know if that counts. Keeping a clean house, I would say. I love having a clean house. I desperately want a clean house. I am not good at keeping a clean house. I'm just not good at it. That skill set just isn't there for me. Um, Fun fact, uh, my husband and I get along great. We work well together. We can spend 48 hours together in a plow truck Like we can be together all the time. We cannot mow or move furniture together. It immediately results in a screaming match. I've
Interesting.
hired movers just to move like a couch from upstairs to downstairs before because we cannot do it. So that's one thing I can't do well. Is I cannot mow with my husband and I cannot move furniture with him.
Interesting. Mind me asking why the mowing?
So when he first started out, when it was still just him, when he would tell me I'm going out on mow crew today, and finally I was like, why do you call it mow crew when it's just you? It's like I don't know, that's what people call it. I would go out with him sometimes if I didn't have to work or if I, had the day off. I would go out with him, and he he does this all the time, but with mowing it just drives me nuts. He'll stop whatever he's doing. Like he will stop the lawnmower if I'm string trimming, and he'll come over and be like, "You should do it like this." But he does that over and over again, and so I'm like, I'm doing it. Like, stop, stop doing that. And so it just, I mean, even at our own house, we don't even mow the lawn. We just have not my crew. We have another crew come and cut the grass. I'm like, it's not even worth the fight. Let's just pay somebody else to cut the lawn because I don't want to argue with you about this.
That's awesome. I can see the furniture. I can see that. Never thought about the mowing.
Yeah, he would just stop the lawnmower, stop and come or ride it over and be like, "Oh, you should do it like this or do this." I'm like, I am doing that. Like, why are you stopping lawnmower? Go cut the grass, man. Go cut the grass. Why are you stopping to talk to me?
Leave me alone.
Leave me
Nice.
alone. Yes. Yeah. So we've definitely gotten into screaming matches on customers' properties before.
That's It happens. It happens.
Yeah.
All right, Shannon. Well, I appreciate you hopping in here today, and I appreciate you sharing this awesome app with everybody. Again, it's EZBZ.app. Um, it's actually EZBZ.app. And there's also, like she said, if you go to the Apple or iOS, it's actually Easy spelled out EASY BEEZY. There's a lot of E's
Yeah,
there.
we shortened it because Google actually autocorrects it to easy breezy or some there was a lot of confusion with the spelling of it. So EZBZ. But hopefully we can post a link to the Facebook or the Instagram and
Yep.
people can
Yeah.
make their way over there.
Yep. No, it'll be in all the comments and everything section. So, all right, Shannon. Well, I thank you again,
Okay,
and
great.
I look forward to talking to you more in the future.